Hello and greetings. Welcome to the Godmother podcast. I am your host, the Godmother. So thankful and grateful that you chose to come and join me today. So let me start off by saying if this is your first time, thank you so much. Welcome. And please, if you have not already, subscribe, like, and share. Comment as well. If you are returning, thank you. Appreciate it so much. If you have not already, subscribe, like, and share. And so would love to hear your comments. So, for those of you that do not know who the Godmother is and what the Godmother podcast is, let me share that with you. This is a place and a platform where you can be able to get nourishment for your mind, body, and soul. When we understand some of the negative attributes that this world brings, in the society, there is much strife, chaos, anger, violence, hurt, pain, and suffering. I want to bring something that is more uplifting, something that is nutrient to be able to guide you to a better version of yourself. What does that look like? There's so many different ways and forms. And we call those strategies, methods, techniques, skills, all of that. And it's all up to us individually to be able to learn whatever it is that works for us to get to that best version of self. So, me as an individual, I choose to add and aid and support the uplifting of that, the encouragement of that, in order to help guide others to that point to where that they can get there. And as I'm steady growing and evolving, I'm building. And this is one of the things. And this is me being able to let you know that I have love and compassion for others. I'm not here to fight you or debate you on my views and my opinions and what it is that you go through. But what I will do is let you know that I have a shoulder, I have some arms, I have some love, I have a sincere and genuine heart. But that also means that I'm going to tell you the truth and what you need to hear. And many people struggle with that. But this is a place where that I promise you, what it is that I give is for the better of you. I speak to your greatness. I speak to your goodness. I speak to your higher self. What I am building, man, the goal and the aim and the objective is to be collectively among those of like-minded and who want to be participants in this type of energy. And right now, these are one of the elements and one of the tasks that I do to get me to that, and hopefully the rest of you all as well. And even if it means I only get to one person, hey, that's all I need to hit at that time. And then the next time, hey, I continue. So that is what this podcast brings. I don't know what it is that each one of you all are going through, but I know that we all go through much things that don't feel good, but we know that they are strengthening us as long as we keep fighting and keep going and understand that, man, do not give up, because challenges and obstacles, they're inevitable in this life experience. And so I want to be that source of inspiration, motivation, encouragement that's going to keep on pushing you ahead. And no throwing in the towels, because I'm throwing them back at you. And God said, you almost there. That's who me, the Godmother, is. And I mean that genuinely from my heart. So now, in addition to my podcast, I am an author, an artist, an event planner, as well as a motivational speaker. So a lot all of my info is in my bio. Please check out my website and enjoy. But if you have not purchased your books, I've not only written and published a self-help book, a fiction book, several journals, and also created a family book that you could use as an heirloom. But right now, I want to say and promote about the self help book. This is a book that I created and I shared an exercise that I created and generated as far as to aid and assist individuals towards setting goals for their life, being able to identify what areas of their life are either holding them back or being supportive to procrastination on them being able to get to the next step. It is an outline and a guide for you to be able to have a starting point and begin to make those steps towards the goals and ambitions that you have. And that looks different for everybody. And that book is called Set Your Ship to Sail. It is available on Amazon. The link is also in my bio. Once again, set your ship to sail. If you don't feel that this book is for you, I know that you know someone that this book could actually benefit. Share it with them. Give it to them. You all read it together. It is an exercise that can be able to be used continuously. It is timeless. That you could always be able to refer back to this guided exercise and outline to be able to get yourself back on track to get what it is that you need. In addition to the self help book, I've written and published a book called Lady and the Triumph. It is a story of resilience, persistence, and a faith in oneself to go through all the challenges and obstacles and be able to say, man, I want more for myself and I'm going to do that. Man, read the story of the journey of this woman who went through hell and back and was able to stand up and to be able to say, man, despite the wounds and scars, that I want to keep fighting to live. Lady and the Triumph. Okay? It is also available on Amazon. The link is in my bio. This is a very inspiring story to where is it that for those that feel like that, man, they're defeated despite or defeated in the midst of all of the challenges and obstacles they face, here's a story to be able to motivate you and let you know that you're not alone, but does not have to be over. Lady and the Triumph. Then, in order to promote more self-care, I've written and published some journals, daily grace journals. We're not talking about the plain notebook inside where that is just a whole bunch of lines you write on. No, these are prompted entries that allow you to be able to enter what it is that affiliates with yourself and then be able to keep a record, observe, and record, and then also refer back to later on in time. I journal, and I think journaling is good. So check those out. We have Triple Moon Goddess Journal. Triple Moon Goddess Journal. It is a 3-volume set. It comes with the Maiden, the Mother, and the Crone. For those of you, especially on our spiritual path and journey, and you are familiar with the Triple Moon Goddess, then you understand what it is that this journal will entail. If you are not uh, familiar with that, I tell you to look it up. But you can find this set on Amazon as well. The good thing about my journals, there are no year dates on these journals. So that means they could be used anytime. If you want to get them in 26 and you don't want to use them to 28, you can do that because you don't have to write in it until you choose to write in it. Triple Moon Goddess Journal. In addition, I have a Daily Grace Journal. And the Daily Grace Journal, in addition to the Triple Moon Goddess Journal, these have prompted entries as well. but it gives you an opportunity to be able to record and observe what it is that you are going through within your own personal life and then refer back to that. The GRACE is an acronym and it stands for gratitude, research, alkaline, creativity, and exercise. These are elements that I feel that if we incorporate into our daily life will give us more fulfillment. Check them out, Daily Grace Journal, and get yours. And then you have the family book. It is called Our Family Story. Our Family Story. And it basically is a book where you could be able to take to your next family outing or gathering or your next family reunion and get all of your family members to be able to enter their information in there. And it gives you the prompted information that you could be able to record so that this could be able to be an heirloom that you could pass down for generations and they could just keep adding it. It's called Our Family Story. Check out my previous videos. You can see more pictures of them. I have actual visuals of it. You can check out the links in my bio. Get your copy today. Speaking of family, resilience, perseverance, challenges, and obstacles leads me to my subject today. So this will be a part one and a part two. And they both will be stemmed around the same topic, but they will have some different elements. I don't have any notes with me now, but I am speaking through spirit because I am speaking on how I feel. And when I read, view, or see anything, it is something that allows this particular information, knowledge, act, experience to be stored in my brain for me to retain. And there are always a relevance. So the topic that I will be talking about uh, for this part one as well as this part two is family dynamics and the impacts and effects that relationships can have on them. Let me say that again. Family dynamics and the impacts and effects that relationships can have on them. So you ask, what does that mean? So I'm going to start with this. We all have our own stories, from how we were raised to how we were brought up to, our adult life, all of that. Everybody has their own unique story. It's not for nobody else to write. It is an experience that nobody can take from you. And guess what? It is what it was. Now, it's just like when you're playing cards and you're dealt that hand. You don't get to pick your cards, but you get this hand and play. You might not like it. You can even look at this hand and be, I don't see how the hell or how the, excuse my French, how the fuck I'm going to make a book out of this shit. This is what we work on. So I have my story. You have your story. They have their story. They have their story. So one particular story I'm going to key in on today, but the only reason why I'm going to key in on it is because we're going to speak about the title, but then we're also going to speak about certain elements. I don't need to get specifically in tune with each of the individuals. That's not what I'm here for. I'm strictly focusing on some of the dynamics which come into the structure and the foundation of family. Of course, many of us are so familiar with the mother, the father, the sister, the brother, hey, the grandfather, the grandmother, the uncle, the uncle. Okay, beautiful. Who would not want to be around all that? So, recently, I looked and binge watched the Sister Wives. Anybody familiar with the Sister Wives? If you're not, check it out. Okay, so people like, well, why would you watch that? I wanted to. So, moving on. Now, what grasps me and my attention about the Sister Wives is because as many times as I'm either looking for entertainment to watch on television, I come across this particular based off of what I watch. So I said, okay, I do watch reality shows for a reason, and if you go back into my videos, you'll find out why. But the thing is, this is that I analyze everything. Should I have been a psychiatrist or a sociologist or a counselor therapist? Probably so. But I chose to be the godmother. And I chose to be the one to be able to tell you, guess what? I love you. You're doing a great job. Keep it up. But I also want to be able to tell you, your shit stink. Get your ass together because we not fucking around no more. Because I love you that much, and that's how I'm going to fucking talk to you. Okay? Because if I love you, I'm going to keep it 100 real. Your shit stink, and you need to go wash your shit up. Because I'm not going to let you go out there and have somebody else make an embarrassment of you. No. Because whatever it is that you're going through now, if you have a problem and you just don't know how to clean yourself, guess what? That's what your mama, your godmother's here for. Let me help you clean your shit up. But you don't need to take yourself out there and let everybody make a joke out of your shit. So that's how I am. But nevertheless, the thing is this is that whatever the dynamic is that you're going through in your life, I chose to key in on this sister wife. I was getting certain signs because what it is that I'm building that many of you are not aware of, and trust me, we'll get to that later on a later date, but nevertheless, the polygamy. Many of you don't know, but I was offered that years ago. This is one of the grand ideas, or I don't want to say ideas, what can I say? Requests or wishes that the father of my children he wanted. I was looking at it from a standpoint of jealousy. I don't want to share anyone. At the same time, he would preach this sermon to me as far as that we would be one family. So when I seen the previews of Sister Wives, it made me watch it because I wanted to view that lifestyle. I wanted to see myself. Once again, I like to analyze, not because I'm seeking. I want to analyze. I want to get an understanding because I'm not here to judge, but I want to get an understanding of why it is that one chooses this lifestyle. Is it interesting to me? It is. So as I watched it, my thing is this is that you have so many different personalities that is in with that in show, but the dynamics that I was interested in is the multiple wives and the big family. Now, even though you have low vibrational energies that focus more on the lustful acts that ones think that could be going on with this whole structure, I'm far from that because I do feel as though that there was love there. And when anger arises and frustration, just like any human, things will be said and people will be hurt and pain and suffering will be caused. It's human. But before we get there, let's back up. 4 wives, 1 husband, and a total of 18 children. Okay? What a beautiful family. When I say I felt the love through that TV of that family. But the thing is this is that whoever is recording, you are recording and then you are compelling the clippings of your recordings together because you want to present a show to us based off whatever analog or outline or guide that you all have created or your desire is for the show. Nevertheless, this is still a real life family, right? This is real life. Even though they're on reality TV and they are still actually 4 wives and 1 husband and 18 children. Can it work? That is where my analyzation was focused on. Is it possible to work? The answer is it depends on what area you feel dead. And that's the truth. Something is going to get missed. You know why? Because I'm a saint. I was a single mother and I raised my children on my own, but I promise you, I missed something. All in the midst of me thinking I'm doing everything right, I missed something. We are human. We will. If you love genuinely, sincerely, that will be lasting. That won't change. But it doesn't mean you're not perfect and you didn't get some shit wrong. But when you love genuinely, that is so strong. Okay? It, it's not forgotten. So, the dynamics in that family that I want to focus on is the marriage, the children, and the wives. So, the marriage I'm going to focus on with the relationship, right? The individual relationship. That's the marriage. And how many? It was four. The true essence of a marriage requires partnership, companionship. You have to work together. That is not no 50-50. You give your 100%, I give my 100%. We come together, we build, and we grow. Is it possible with all four of the women? I say he achieved. Possible means could it happen? That's totally different than maintain. So, is it achievable? Because you can achieve something, but what do you need to do to maintain it? So, from the marriage point of view, because I am a wife, I mean, I'm a previous wife, I'm a widow. And, well, I am a wife, but I was a widow. And so I only have one husband, okay? And I only had one husband. But this was one husband who had four wives. So I'm going to speak of the dynamic of the marriage because that required a lot of responsibility. And I often wondered as I watched the television show, what type of, how can I say this? What type of self care, self work was he doing on himself to where that he was placing himself in this position to be this husband and father to all of these women and these people? Something was going to get missed. Now, as far as the marriage goes, he respected and addressed each woman as his wife. Each of the children knew that this was his wife and this was their mother. I didn't see the any physical abuse. I didn't see any verbal abuse, okay? What I seen was a husband who was dedicated to his marriages and his children, which was his family, and wanted to make sure that he had a foundation and a structure for them. That's what I got from season 1 to season 15. There's about 20 seasons, okay? That I say that I seen that. I seen the consistency from the first decade, from the first 10 seasons, and then the 5 seasons began to recognize a lot of the issues. So now, and this is my perspective. So now with the marriages, because you have all of these different women, but you have this same individual. And so whatever it was that brought them two together as a marriage, that's what they came together. Now, what was interesting is that I found out in watching this series is that they would be conjoining together with these individuals prior to them getting to marry. So they had relations or experiences with them that they also said that they got premonitions through God that said this was the individual that they needed to be with. So they came together. So now what I do notice is that this was based off of what the husband wanted and that the wives had either previously been in polygamy relationships and they wanted that, or this is what they wanted, and so they were mingling in this environment and atmosphere in order or both to be able to get into a polygamy marriage, a plural marriage. They succeeded. So now, the structure was amazing. That is my opinion. There was wedding, there were ceremonies. By the time that we had got to this family on media, this individual was marrying the fourth wife. So we were coming in onto the fourth marriage as a structure. What it was is that it showed the respect, the love, the committedness, the loyalty for these wives. I seen smiles, I seen happiness, I seen, you know, it looked like they were in love. Eventually they got to a place where they were in their own homes. They had beautiful homes. So this one husband was actually being in all of these marriages at these all different houses. Once again, I have no idea what he was going through as an individual because that is a lot of weight to carry. But I gotta say, he carried the weight. Just because I say he carried the weight does not mean I'm saying he was perfect and everything he did was right. No, he carried the weight. See, you can have an individual that chooses to say, I'm gonna fuck with her, I'm gonna fuck with her, I'm gonna fuck with her and fuck with her. But is he gonna step up to the plate to take care of each one of these women equally the way that they need to be done? That is not easy to do. Okay? Because you may fuck with this woman because guess what? You like her and she cool, but she also is established. And you can go and you can live with her and or you could drive a car. Then you got this one, it's like, yeah, you're more attached to, but you know she been down with you from day one, and you know what I'm saying? She just needed a little help. Whatever the dynamics is. But this individual, he understood that he had 4 wives, 4 marriages that needed to be taken care of. They literally had 4 houses. And I'm not talking about, they weren't mansions, but they were nice houses. This man was not rich, but he knew how to budget money and what to spend money on. I admire that about him. The women, the wives, you understand what I'm saying? They also within the marriage, whatever it was, we seen more of how the structure was, the foundation was created and how it was being maintained on that level so that they all are satisfied, from the husband to the wives to the children. And this was what the series was portraying to us. We were getting these dynamics. But I don't care what nobody say. After a while, you get videotaped. There's going to be some things that you're just not going to be able to discuss. So the dynamic of the marriage is that I totally agree with the respect, the love, the time, and the committedness that was given. I don't agree that it can equally be distributed because you are one individual. It looked like that, but the thing is this is that is because that is how things are always structured. It is good to look like that. I don't disagree with the plural marriages. I just want to make sure that everybody is able to be maturely and strong enough in order to deal with that type of experience and situation. And everybody is not. So I will say when it comes to the marriages, there was a commitment that was given based off of that husband and that wife to that marriage. And so the impact and the effects that I feel that the marriages had on that the family dynamics of the marriage, I feel the effects and the impacts of the relationships is that it became overwhelming for one individual to be able to give that much of himself to that many people at the same time. And so within oneself, that can be able to tear you down, create all kind of thoughts and this and that. And maybe the vision that one had or one thought that this is what one wanted to do, it began to be too heavy. And so you begin to miss things. And before you know it, when you thought that you were being able to be committed and loyal and dedicated and giving every marriage and wife what was needed, you find out that that wasn't the case. Does that make you a bad person? You're human. You're human. I respect the fact that as a man, you chose to say, I'm going to take all this on. I'm not going to play it out to say, okay, I could be monogamous, but I know I might want to have another woman. And so I'm going to have her on the side, but I choose to not take on that responsibility in the relationship because I don't want that responsibility. No, he didn't do that. And so for me, that is one of the major commitments of a marriage, and it is important. It is that we have an understanding, and each woman knew what it was coming into this. He didn't have anything. They knew. They met with one another. So this is an understanding. I'm going to talk about that later in the last dynamic that I want to speak of. But when it comes to marriage, I don't look down on it. Is it something I want? No. What I do love about it is the family and unity that it showed, and that it is an example that it can happen. It can be done. Is it possible? It's all about who's willing to put in the work. And even though it's easily said, it's really hard to be done. And this was just one man with 4 women. And he married them, even though legally he could only have a marriage license with one. He was spiritually and divinely connected to all 4. So now, the family dynamic of marriage, I feel like that it was fulfilled through the plural marriage that he sought out to get, because as a man, he felt like that's what he wanted to do up front. So in his mind, I don't need to play the game of, okay, I'm going to be out here in the streets with different women and have one wife at home. No, he felt his soul told him that he was drawn to have plural marriages, and he did. I don't disrespect that, and I don't disregard that, and I'm not going to look down on it. I'm just telling you that's not my preference. The reason why it was interesting to me is because the father of my children stated that he wanted me and another individual to be both of his wives. I felt he was coming from a place of lust, because after viewing this particular series, I realized he was in no position. And how I know, because I was there with him in the experience. He was in no position to make sure that we were taken care of. So how the fuck did he think that he was going to have multiple wives or a plural family, or plural marriages? Some males think from that level because they're thinking from not this head, but that one. And you have to be mentally and emotionally strong and stable, as well as financially, to take on that responsibility. However it was, that particular husband in that series, he did it. Could he maintain it? It's a different story. And what was it couldn't he maintain? The finances? I feel like that they could actually construct an actual book. Some things definitely would have to be moderated, but they had a system. Because the many times that they moved in that series, they were able, it was a show that they had some sort of savings available to their accessible to them at times of need, where they could be able to say, man, we have to go. That is something that many of us, and in one of my prior videos, I talked about saving and intentional spending. And so they were not the most flashy family, but they were not no rugged, or like they looked at like like they looked at dirty and clean. No, they were clean, but it was like, it's not about having to have the brand names, whatever. No, it's about stability and foundation. And I feel like this particular husband and these 4 wives, they came together for the sake of all of their children. It was a total of 18, in order to make sure that they had what it is that they needed. And for that, I commend y'all, because it's individuals that only have one husband and one wife, and just have maybe one child, are not able to even get that off the ground. You all did it with that many. And see, that leads me to the dynamic of the children. 18. Now, I stated that the effects and the impacts of the relationship of having that many marriages, I feel that that was too much of a strain on that one person, right? Okay. So now you sit there and you talk about the children. 18. That's a lot of children. Now, of course, the moms, they were mothers. You hear me? They were mothers. Excuse me. They are mothers. And from one mother to another, thank you for being mother to all of those children. They didn't forget that. I love to see that dynamic. The truth of the matter is, this goes back to this one man who's a father to these 18 children. Taking care of them comes with more than just providing the financial resources that they need in order to be able to survive. They need you mentally and emotionally as well. And they need your physical presence more than just the particular time or day that you're going to be with that particular marriage and wife in that day. That creates an impact and an effect. And it did. We're human. You're going to miss something. As those children are growing and they're getting older and they're getting bigger, they're experiencing life. And even though that you have been hands-on and y'all went on trips, y'all have family gatherings for the holidays and all of that, even as a single parent, you still miss something. You think you weren't going to miss anything? Of course. There were many experiences that came up that the children wind up talking about. How they feel like he wasn't around like he should have been, or he ever as much. That they did feel love, but they didn't get enough time. And then they felt like as they got older, more of the time began to diminish because they're older, and he needs to be with the younger children more. He even stated that he began to think, the husband began to state, he began to question on did he want to keep having children because as he's getting older, he realized by the time the show had got to his later seasons, his youngest daughter, his youngest child was born, and he realized by the time she would get 18, he would be 70. So he understood, it's like, man, and what type of condition would he be to be able to be there for her? So he started to think about it. So the impacts and the effects of the children was that with having so many of them, even with the fact that they had the love from their mom, they had the love from their dad, but the time was limited. They were overwhelmed with motherly love because everywhere you turned, there was a mother. But a father, that father, they knew who he was and they respected him. But they also admitted that, man, we could have seen your presence more. So then COVID hit, the pandemic. And I was sitting around waiting because as I'm watching this TV show, I'm like, wait a minute, it's a reality show. When I realized when it started, I say, so what did they do when the pandemic hit? So I'm watching it, and oh my goodness, the effect, the impact that that had. Remember, this was a man that had to jump around from house to house. He got to go to house, and he got to spend X amount of time with each family. 18 children, 4 wives, one person. But you have all these children, and you got all of these personalities, all of these feelings. Everybody got their own view. Then you begin to see these views in the TV series of the children. So at one point during the pandemic, the visits from to all of the homes began to diminish. These children began to see less and less of their father. To where it's that their father was more in tune with the protocol than to be connected to the family and made a choice to go and be with the youngest ones, which was in the home and the marriage of the last wife. Okay? So now the older children are feeling some type of way. Where you got the other mothers are like, these are children. Are you telling me to choose between my children? The children trying to figure out when did we become separate where we gotta be chosen on who gets to be picked? That creates a pain and a suffering in a child. Because in their mind is that you chose this child over me. I thought we were all your children. How do you balance that? Well, you definitely don't not go see them or let them come around you because of a pandemic. Let me tell you something. When the pandemic hit, I said, if we gonna go, we gonna all go together. Okay? It had got to the point where I said, you gonna tell me I can go to Walmart or Kroger, but I can't go see my mama? You shitting me? She was more afraid than anything. And I'm like, what the fuck? But this father was so petrified, whatever the case is, but I still have to say the children were impacted because in their mind, he made a choice. He chose to stay with these children instead of them. His response was that he told the other children, the older children, they needed to be mindful on how they moved around in this pandemic. They're explaining to him like, we're adults. We still have to live in this pandemic too. What are you saying? You know what I mean? But you're still our father. And then that's when they also was like, we've been feeling like this for the longest, that you haven't really spent enough time. And all of these feelings came out. It got so deep that the impact of and the effects that the family dynamics brought to where is it that there became so much distant, distraught, chaos, animosity. This family experienced a loss. One of the children took their own life. Is it because of the plural family? No. It was because of whatever it was that this child was going through. And at this point, this child was an adult. But the effects and the impact that that had from all the other things that added on, this baby chose to take his life. Do I blame the mother? Do I blame the father and all the other mothers? Absolutely not, baby. I wanted that father to go and see them babies during a pandemic. Yes. Don't make them think you had to choose. You was wrong. You was wrong. And I know that hurts you because I watched that series and that pain. I watched you dig that dirt for your boy. And I know you was in pain because you knew your baby was hurting. And I know that you repented for what it is that you didn't move and that you didn't do. But I know it wasn't because you just didn't like your children. I know you loved your children. And your children knew that. They needed you to show it a lot more. That baby felt some type of belonging and he was surrounded. Because when I say he had his mama baby, he had his other mamas. Trust me. That family was so hurt behind that loss. It made them start really addressing the feelings that they know they were having, that they had been harboring, that they did not talk about. Why, I don't know. But each one of them would tell you they would not change being brought up and raised how they were because it was so much love in their family. When you watch the series, you can hear them say that. But in the same token, they say, majority of them, I would not want a plural marriage. They say we had the best of the mothers. They were mothers. They was like our dad. We knew he loved it. He was there. But man, our mothers just made sure that we were always wanted. And that leads me to the why. What is the duty? Your mothers, your wives, to 18 children. Your wives to one man, all four of you, and your mothers to 18 children collectively. That's a lot of weight. The dynamic, the family dynamic of the wife and the mother was impacted and and affected, in my view and opinion, based off the relationship, is that they did not really have a relationship with one another. That's where they lost it. They were there collectively as the wives and the mothers for this family, but they really weren't in a relationship with one another. I'm not speaking lustfully, lesbian as a in a sexual nature. No, the sister wife is an example of a sisterhood that can be formed because you see many cultures where they have multiple wives. If them wives are together and have a relationship and that bond is strong, that family is strong. It can work. And I am not speaking sexual wives. These women, some were harboring a jealousy for the other because this is what they really didn't like, but they signed on. Why did you do it then? You are not able to get in a plural marriage with jealousy. Jealousy is not love. If you're going off your faith in the Creator and you're guided to where's this your purpose, how are you jealous? Because you're human. And had y'all had a relationship and worked on it way sooner than y'all did, it might have worked. There was too much of a force fed to where that animosity was secretly building. I watched the dynamics become affected and impacted. When I say that I feel as though that this could be anybody, this could be any culture, it could work. It depends on the individual. Okay, so the wife part. When you came into the marriage with this one husband, you knew that you were going to be accompanied by other wives. You also knew that there was only one wife that would be able to hold the marriage license legally contracted to this husband under the states and laws. You knew this and you came into this. So this is where he gets none of the blame because you willingly agreed to this. How do you commit to this when you know that you are going to be jealous? And if you do commit to it, or you obviously did, why didn't you work on your jealousy? The jealousy and the need to be able to accommodate all the wives became heavy. I do believe this husband had a favorite. I do. But I believe by the time he admitted it to himself, he had already knew that he was not going to give up on the other marriages. But this is where the contradiction comes in. Because if that's really how you feel, you did give up on one. Your counter for that or your reasoning is because she emotionally stepped out. She did. Why? I blame her because it wasn't brought to the forefront to be dealt with, because the bond should be strong enough where it's that you don't have to seek nothing outside of the sacred circle, and you did. As a wife, and of all people, you're the first wife. You're the one that held the whole certification. And that's why you were bombarded. Well, you were not talked nicely about in the media. Do I understand a reasoning or a motive behind, or maybe how all things unfolded, whether it was a motive or not? Yes, I can totally relate and understand. But once again, the relationship should have been better with the wives, so that that could have been the united front of the structure that could have maintained the foundation of the family. Remember, he's the husband and is carrying the weight. I'm not blaming you women. All of you all played a part. It was a beautiful blueprint. You just missed some screws and bolts. And these are the impacts and the effects of it. And in a family, whether we do it legally, openly, where is it that we have an understanding that it's happening, or we do it secretly, discreetly, behind the back, doesn't mean either way that you don't become impacted or affected. Now, the mother dynamic of this stood out more than anything. Because to me, and as a mother, I admired it. These women were mothers. They did not become the best of friends, or, want to be besties with one another, but let something happen to one of them babies. That mama, I don't care if that baby came out of that hole, I'm still mama, man. Ladies, why y'all didn't work on that with one another? Y'all entered it with it. And then y'all children seen it crumble. And remember, the younger ones became more affected because the older ones, they actually was in it from the beginning till they were grown. The younger ones, they had to experience both sides of it. That was a lot of an impact and an effect. Now, I'm at the last season, and I always admire a lesson and a message that I can receive from anything that I absorb. And whenever I'm looking at media, whenever I'm reading, whenever I'm watching content, whenever I'm listening to music, I'm absorbing something. And the family dynamic was so beautiful, and so much love was shown in that family. And the pain and suffering that they hit when they lost that loved one, we got to do better at being communicative to one another, bringing things to the forefront, and having an understanding of what it is that we really want to see and happen, but do it in a respectful and rational way. And don't just let things look good for the camera. You're going to let them record you? Send a message of what it is, the real depth. And I feel like y'all really begin to unravel your true selves in them later seasons. And I thank you for that, because you went raw. Even the husband went raw. He got honest. It broke him. He took his son's ashes. Him and the dad got to the point, he had, after having the 4 wives, the family had him broken up. He had only wound up remaining with one by the time that baby had took his life. The wife that he shared that baby with, they weren't even on speaking terms. But when I say they put all that to the side, They had to bury their boy. Their father, that husband sat there and said on that screen, I'm sorry. I I messed up. I should have reached out. He said, yep, I'm going to do the what if. Because what if I had just reached out? Let him come to me. And he chose to dig his grave and bury him. And it was heavy. And his children and all of them wives, even though they ex was surrounded. That's love. Thank y'all for showing. There are many family dynamics that bring impacts and effects based off relationships. I know you have some in your family. And maybe this video and this podcast makes you look at that. Maybe you'll even go and check out the series Sister Wives. It wasn't here to promote that. It was here to talk about these dynamics that these happening every day. There's many people out here who are broken and hurt. Let's start changing the dynamics of that. Let's really bring some harmony for some healing. This one was touchy. This one touched the heart. This is part one. And I definitely will return with part two. Thank you for joining. Comment just to let me know that you're here and you stopped by. Comment family. It'll be appreciated. You have an amazing day on purpose, but you make sure you tune in for part two. Like, share, please.